Sports and the stories yet untold. Passion ignites like a blazing fire. Knowledge takes us higher, higher. Out of the box where the wild ones play, we see the game in a whole new way. Living loud, hearts in motion. Sports with soul, pure devotion. The field's alive with endless dreams. We're more than stats, we're the in-between. A slam dunk thought.
What's up, New York Mets Nation? Welcome to the Bat Cave. I'm your host, the Bat Fry, Kenny Fry. And it's hump day. How about that, right? Yeah, hump day. I can't believe it. It is Wednesday, isn't it? Oh, yeah, it's Wednesday, garbage day. So hope everybody's doing well out there. It's been a long time since I've been on, probably since late September, near the end of the season. Was my last episode of the Bat Cave. And I felt like what better time than now after the Mets losing out on the Edwin Diaz sweepstakes. So figure out hop on here for a few minutes, shoot the crap here, with trying to keep it PG as much as possible. It's not a Raider show, so there shouldn't be much cursing because the Mets aren't in season right now. If it was last season, at the end of the season, with the Mets, plenty of cursing going on. But we're in the off season, and it is what it is. So Mets lose out on Edwin Diaz. Before I get started, my bad here. Today's episode is brought to you by our boy, your boy, everybody's boy, Jason Fine, attorney, Big Al. You can reach Big Al at 1-800-HURT-123. That's 1-800-HURT-123. Jason Fine specializes in motor vehicle accidents, slip and falls, workman's comp, and personal injury claims. He has 3 office locations conveniently located throughout Pennsylvania and New Jersey. His office in New Jersey is located in Cherry Hill on 3 Greensward Lane. The phone number there is 856-209-5258, and he has 2 offices in Pennsylvania. One in Pittsburgh, located at 500 Grant Street, Suite 2900. The phone number there is 412-365-8151. And one in Philadelphia, located at 1628 JFK Boulevard, Suite 2120. The phone number there is 267-888-2980. That's Jason Fine, attorney, Big Al. Be sure to let Jason know that you're part of the Out of the Box Sports family, and he'll hook you up with a great deal. I think my the battery is dying because I have to kind of mess around the clicking here, and it's not responding right away. So I don't know if the battery's starting to die or I don't know. But anyway, so the Mets lose out on Edwin Diaz. A little bit of a surprise, I think, to a lot of people, and maybe not so much of a surprise to others, with the Mets signing Devin Williams. What was it? 2 weeks ago, whatever it was. So the writing was almost on the wall. I know as a Mets fan, I think most Mets fans were really hoping with the addition of Devin Williams, if the Mets are able to re-sign Edwin Diaz, we could go from one of our biggest glaring weaknesses last season to possibly a strength. But that didn't happen. So now we're kind of almost stuck in the same place we were last season as of right now. Still plenty of offseason to go. Free agency, still plenty of time yet. You don't want to wait too much longer. With some of these bigger name guys signing contracts, the ball starts rolling on the guys that are kind of waiting for those guys to sign, to kind of base their asking price off of those guys. So that you tend to see that a lot where you have some of the bigger name guys signing, then all of a sudden the dominoes start to fall, and these the other guys start signing as well. Kind of basing off of that salary. So don't wait too long, because you might end up with a bunch of Daniel Vogelbachs, or trying to think of a terrible reliever. There's been so many of them the past couple seasons. But anyway, and that's the one thing that I've talked about a bunch of times on the Bat Cave. If you ever checked out the Bat Cave before, you'll know it. If this is your first time checking out the Bat Cave, I appreciate it very much. Give us a like, follow, subscribe on Out of the Box Sports Entertainment, Facebook and YouTube. And hit that like button, that thumbs up button. So you know when we're notification bell, so you know when we're coming on, when I'm going live, and whatnot. So with relief pitching, a lot of times it's uh it's very fickle. You have a pitcher that pitches a year, 2 years great, and then they might have a year or 2 years down. That happens a lot to a lot of relievers. You'll have 1, 2, 3 seasons where they're world beaters. Then you'll have 1, 2 seasons where they're not. They just kind of fall off the face of the earth. They can't pitch strikes. They get knocked around a good bit, but then they bounce back. So you're looking at Edwin Diaz, first year in New York with the Mets, 2019. Terrible, absolutely terrible. Then he bounced back. He had the COVID 2020, then 2021, great season there. 2022, great season. 2021, I think it was his ERA is around 3. I think 2022 is the 101 year season, the 100 win year season. Yeah, I believe so. Trying to remember. Yeah, the 101 win season was in 2022. Diaz had another great season that year for the Mets. Then you look at 2023, he gets hurt. World Baseball Classic, when he does that celebration after getting a save and blows out his knee. After that, the Mets season takes a nosedive, and a lot of people kind of attribute to the season taking a nosedive because of that. Underachieving and just not good all around. Then you look at 2024. Miracle season almost for the Mets. Out of nowhere, team rebounds. There's so much excitement around the team with different pieces that they brought in. Unexpected pieces. Helping out and contributing in different ways. Diaz up and down season that year, but he finished very, very strong. And then he goes into 2025 last year, carries that over, and I'd say about 95% of his season last year was excellent. There were some hiccups here and there for Diaz, but overall, a terrific season last year. I mean, absolutely, 1.63 ERA in 62 games, 28 saves, 66 and a third innings pitched, a WHIP of 8.893. Just fantastic, absolutely fantastic. Getting the big outs. When the Mets needed a big out, whether it was a 7th, 8th inning, they call on Diaz. Multiple innings pitched last year in a bunch of games. In a few games. And it just, absolutely, I'd say by far, probably our best reliever last season. By far, I would say. So, there is a chance that you look at Edwin Diaz and, maybe he's now on a downslope. Maybe he has a season or two where he's bad, and that this deal for the Dodgers doesn't look so great. 3 years, $69 million. As you're looking at Devin Williams, the Mets bring him in. And the thought was, does this mean that they're out on Diaz? Does this mean that they're looking at Devin Williams as a setup man for Diaz? And you have to wonder what Diaz thought. What did Diaz hear? It's kind of having that alley cat mentality where this is your turf, your territory, and all of a sudden another alley cat comes swaying his ass around. You're not too happy about it. You're looking to fight. You're looking to stake your claim. And somebody came in on Diaz's territory, and he staked his claim on the West Coast. So that very well could be it. There's so many. There's a few different reasons why Diaz may have signed in LA. I've seen a couple different podcasts, heard a couple different podcasts, read a couple different reports as to reasons why, and nobody knows for sure yet. I guess I'm sure stuff like this throughout the year will kind of trickle out throughout the season or whatever. Whether he's having a good season or a bad season with LA, you'll have little snippets come out here and there as to why he chose LA over New York. There's a couple things. The firing of Jeremy Hefner. That was being reported as a possible reasoning for Diaz passing on the Mets, because the Mets, reportedly, again, I don't know if any of this stuff is true. This is all stuff that I've heard or read. Reportedly, the Mets told him that there's plenty of wiggle room in the contract they offered Diaz. They offered Diaz 3 years, $66 million. And then he signed for 3 years, $69 million. It's reportedly, from what I heard, online or through other means of media that there was room to grow this contract. But Diaz did not come back with what LA offered. Now, I also did read a report where the Mets said that there's room to work with this contract, but he was already receiving that term from LA, and that's what he chose. So I don't know. I don't know if the cart before the horse kind of gimmick there. I don't know. I really don't know. So what's the deal here? In my opinion, it feels like Diaz was just ready to move on. You know, I've read some reports where he said he wasn't all that happy that he didn't get a phone call about the Mets signing Devin Williams. Just giving him a heads up. Hey, this is what our thoughts are. That he was kind of pissed about that. Well, he is a free agent. He did opt out, kind of. So I don't know if I agree with being pissed about that. You opted out, and you're pissed that you're not getting a phone call saying, "Hey, this is what we're looking at. This is why we're bringing this guy in. Don't get you know buggered by this." I don't know. That was another possibility. That possibly Diaz wasn't all that thrilled not being consulted, even though he wasn't on the roster or on the team, about the signing of Devin Williams. We do have a comment here. There we go. Hey, Cowboy Dave, smiling ear to ear, except for his Cowboys lost. But the Phillies re-signed Kyle Schwarber. The Schwarbomb will be returning to Philadelphia. 3 years, or no, 5 years, $150 million. It's a lot of cheddar for the big man. Dave says, yo, big man, Diaz to the Dodgers. Unbelievable. Because when I heard that, it was unreal. Very surprising. It was surprising. I was surprised too. But it seems like the Dodgers were kind of in it the last few days anyway. So if you follow along with the winter meetings and stuff, maybe it wasn't so surprising. But I thought for sure the Mets and Diaz were going to get a deal done. Even after they signed Devin Williams, I thought for sure that it was just a matter of time before Diaz got signed. So it is what it is. It really is. I mean, relievers, Dave, they're a tough bunch to read. It's not often that you get a reliever where they get a full career of positive stats, outstanding seasons, full career of them. Usually it's kind of like a 50-50. Now that they are out there, obviously, you hear Trevor Hoffman's and stuff like that. But for the most part, a lot of those guys, it's an up and down thing for relievers. And I'm not saying Diaz wasn't worth it. Diaz was absolutely worth it. I'm just bummed that either he didn't come back with the Dodgers offer for the Mets to kind of throw another number out there at him, or what have you, or the Mets just didn't go bigger, right off the bat. I don't know. They thought that's what he was worth, and that's what they went with, and the Dodgers came back with 3 years, $69 million. I don't know the intricacies of these contracts. I don't know what the deferrals, deferments, signing bonuses. I don't know about any of that stuff, but it is what it is. I mean, you move on from it, and now you focus on Pete Alonso. I mean, with the Schwarber signing, the 3 years, 150, or 5 years, 100. I keep saying three. 5 years, $150 million. You have to figure the next domino to fall would be Pete Alonso. I mean, Schwarber's was the big cheese out there this year, batter wise, I believe. I mean, you could look at Cody Bellinger and stuff like that. He's a big name out there. That's still a free agent. That is a really good bat, but not quite the same type of bat that Schwarber is. And but Bellinger, outstanding defense, and Schwarber, no defense. That is what it is. But anyway, with Schwarber signing, I would expect Pete, to sign, relatively soon. In my opinion, I would think that the Mets are all right. Schwarber got 5 years, 150. All right, Pete, here's 5 years, 160. I mean, I've read multiple times the Mets don't want to give Pete 5 years. They want to kind of stick a shorter term, 3, no more than 4 years. I don't know. Schwarber, I think he's I want to say Schwarber's 30. I think Schwarber might be 33. I think, and Pete might be 31. Something like that. I don't know exactly what it is. I didn't write it down either. I should have looked it up. I know Diaz is going to his age 33 season, where Devin Williams, I believe he's going into his 31-year-old season. So he's a little bit younger than Diaz. But that seems to be too coincidental for that to be Pete Alonso's age and Schwarber's age. So I'm sure they're different numbers. Maybe Pete's 32 or something. I don't know. But still, plenty of legs left to go here yet for Pete Alonso. I don't see the issue. Has his power numbers declined over the last couple seasons? Yeah. Now last year his hard hit rate and all that other good analytical crap was up. Average was up. A lot of things were on the uptick last season, and he just looked much better at the plate. He looked much more comfortable, and I would hate to give something like that up. And I mean, without a reliable piece to slot in there, you could say Vientos or whatever, but look what he did last season. We don't know what Mark Vientos is yet, and that's something that I talked about and going into last season, where everybody's before the Mets ended up signing Pete. Everybody kept saying, Mets fans and the interwebs saying, Vientos take over first base for Pete. See you later, Pete. And like the dude had one good season. One good season with I don't understand. Now put plug Vientos at first base in last year. It didn't make sense to me. So Vientos, he can't be the replacement. We saw what he did this year. Now which Vientos are we going to get next year if the Mets this upcoming season if the Mets do keep him? I know his name's been floated out there, trade and all that stuff. I don't think it's going to happen. I don't want it to happen either. I do think Vientos has the potential to be a very good bat for the Mets. So there's that. But we don't know what he's going to be. What Vientos is are we going to get this season? Hopefully he rebounds and turns out to be a productive a bat for the Mets. But we'll see what happens. But it's just there's nobody on the roster currently that can match that production, that you can slot in there to match that production of Pete Alonso. I mean, you look at the minor leagues, and we do have what the hell's his name? Ryan Clifford. Ryan Clifford, waiting in the wings. He shows a lot of pop in his bat, but we don't know what he is. That's in AAA, Double A. We don't know. I mean, it's until he gets that opportunity, and that's the other thing. There is a lot of young guys with decent amount of team control yet that you could bring up, and if they click, they click. If they don't, well then, you look elsewhere. I guess I don't know. It's just stuff. I don't know what's going on right now. It's tough to really put a finger on it and kind of like, well, this makes logical sense or this makes logical sense. I'm not really sure, but I do have another thought on it. I got a comment here from Cowboy Dave. Let me see here. There it is. The deal just gave the Dodgers a very good chance to three-peat. Unbelievable. They got to perform, Dave. They have to go out and perform. You could put all the All-Stars on a roster you want. They still have to go out there and perform. But I do agree this really puts the Dodgers in the driver's seat. That it has to make them the favorites, even though they probably already were the favorites going into next season, barring injury and stuff like that, to three-peat. Diaz, easily the best reliever on the market. Some may say in baseball last year, and the Dodgers added him. And the Dodgers' weakness last season was the back half of the bullpen. At least that's what I'm being told by the other gas bags. So I don't know. I'm not a Dodger fan. I don't follow Dodger baseball. I follow Mets baseball. I knew the Mets where the Mets weaknesses were: starting pitching, bullpen, and consistency throughout the lineup. So lots of weaknesses there. But it does absolutely put the Dodgers in the driver's seat. But again, you have to go out there and perform. Does Diaz go out there? He chokes a couple times as he starts feeling that pressure. I mean, L.A., New York, two different towns. I feel like the media scrutiny might be a little bit more fiery in New York than LA. LA maybe a little bit more laid back. I don't know. But then that's another thing, why choose LA over New York? It's, the better place to live, maybe. I think the taxes are much higher. I could be wrong about that. I don't know. But that could be a huge part of it, that it's just nicer living arrangements. I don't know. I don't know. That is something else I heard. What else? I wrote down some other notes. The Dodgers pitching development. That's something that Diaz was getting high. Other pitchers were giving him, telling Diaz, high praise, giving high praise to the Dodgers about their pitching development. So you look at the Mets. We heard a lot of talk about their pitching lab after the 2024 season, when they brought in all these guys, Severino and Minaya and guys like that, and then they killed it in 2024, getting the Mets to the playoffs, to the NLCS. Pitching lab. We didn't hear a whole lot about the pitching lab last year, when everything kind of crashed and burned with some of these guys throughout the season. Whether it was Minaya not kind of being what we were hoping he would be from the season before, or the up and down season of Peterson, David Peterson, guys like that. It's just, and Frankie Montas, didn't really work out for him very well. So it's just the bargain bin type of pitching staff that they had didn't work 2 years in a row. They did it 1 year. Some of those guys left. Some of those guys stayed. They did it the second year. The guys they brought in to replace the guys that left, those bargains were not good. It's like when I order stuff from Temu, like this. This is a Temu shirt. Batman sweatshirt, Batman hoodie. This is a good one. All right, this is a good one. I also ordered a Las Vegas Raiders T-shirt off Temu. I washed it and dried it once, and now it's a belly shirt. That's not a good one. That's what happens when you try to cheap out on stuff like I have on Temu, or like the Mets have tried to with their pitching staff. You end up with some ones that, all right, that turned out like it worked. And then you end up with some ones that, nope, belly shirt. That's what happens. So Mets pitching lab, mixed results, in my opinion. But apparently the Dodgers pitching development, Dodgers pitching development, not so much mixed reviews, lots of high praise. So there's that. Diaz's brother, he pitched for the Dodgers a little bit last season. Not a whole lot, a little bit, and really spoke very highly of the organization, front office, clubhouse, pitching development, so on and so on. Talked very highly of it to his brother Edwin. So I'm sure that factored in a little bit. So it's a tough pill to swallow. It really is, but it's a pill that I'm willing to swallow. With the addition of Devin Williams, hopefully Devin Williams can kind of return to form. Last season, struggled with the Yankees for probably half the season. Second half of the season, he pitched better. And I'm not an analytical guy. Some of the podcasts I heard say you can't look at his ERA. You have to look at expected ERA. And I don't understand that for 1 second. Expected ERA, what the hell does that even mean? I mean, like, expected and reality, that's two different things. When I start weightlifting, I expected to be a muscle man, be ripped. But in reality, the flab is still there, right? So I just don't understand the expected ERA type stuff. And, I don't know. That stuff doesn't make sense to me, and I don't buy it for a second. Cowboy Dave with another comment here. He says, I know this is a Mets show. Not Dave, this is a sports show. You ask what you want to ask. If there's something you want to ask, you need some love advice from the Bat Fry here, I'm your man. Not love making advice, because I don't know. Not very good at that. But anyway, I am the biggest Raiders fan this weekend against the Pigeons. He means the Eagles. Go black and silver. It's silver and black. Damn it, Dave. The silver and black. The black and silver doesn't make any sense. The silver and black flows. Say it. The silver and black. There you go. I heard that from actually heard that from an Eagles fan. I know you're a Cowboy fan, Dave. So you're hoping the Eagles would lose and Cowboys would have to win to kind of tighten that race a little bit for the NFC East. But I was talking to an Eagles fan last night at work, and he's hoping that the Raiders go out there and shut the Eagles out, shut them down offensively, so the Eagles fire their offensive coordinator because he hates their offensive coordinator. And I said, bruh, so the Raiders can't even score a touchdown 99% of the time. I said, if they win by a shutout, it's going to be 6-0, because of 2 field goals or something. They can't even move the damn ball. But, yeah, I wouldn't hold your breath, Dave. I would not hold your breath. For some reason, I feel like this might be the weekend that the Eagles get the offense right because they'll have 70 goddamn plays. Dave, you're getting me all wound up now. I get, like I said, this is a sports show. It's a Mets based show, but it's sports. But I'm getting all wound up now. Getting all wound up. Like I said, I wasn't going to curse. I already started cursing a little bit, trying to keep it off. But yeah. Another downside of losing Edwin Diaz is apparently Diaz is a great clubhouse guy. He does have the nickname Sugar. We all know that as Mets fans. We've heard on SNY them use that nickname, many times, and it appears to be that he may have been kind of the glue kind of holding it together. And we've heard a lot about the Mets clubhouse over these last few weeks since the trade of Brandon Nimmo to the Texas Rangers. And we've heard a lot of bad stuff about the Mets clubhouse. So it's one of those deals, was that stuff not getting out because Edwin Diaz? Was that stuff being kind of brought along, on a thin line here because of Edwin Diaz? Was Edwin Diaz that guy that kind of just held it together? If he's not there, it just explodes and you're getting all sorts of, in season name drops or in season, what's the word I'm looking for? Leaks and stuff like that. This guy said this about this guy or whatever. That's the worst thing that can happen to a team is when, stuff like that starts leaking out to the press and makes its way on air, onto social media and stuff. When you start hearing about grown men fighting and arguing with each other, grown millionaire men, not being able to get along to play a sport. It's kind of ridiculous when you think about it. But was Diaz the glue? You had Lindor, McNeil not getting along, and you have Lindor and Soto not getting along. Soto not getting along with anybody because he's a gajillionaire. This, that, and the other. So I don't know. I don't know if Diaz was that guy or he isn't that guy. It certainly seems like he was close to being that guy. He seemed like he was liked by everybody in the clubhouse. So it's just a bummer to lose somebody like that. But the Mets need to really get on their horse here and figure this bullpen out. Really figure this bullpen out because I'm telling you what, the starting pitching, that's a big question mark as well. We need a strong point in on the mound there, and if it's going to be our bullpen, it needs to be our bullpen, and if it's going to be our starting pitching, it needs to be our starting pitching. I have a hard. It's hard for me to believe that they're going to be able to figure both of these out through free agency and trades. I feel like it's going to be one or the other. Either they're going to be able to figure out the bullpen through free agency and trades, or it's going to be the starting pitching they'll be able to figure out in trades and free agency. I don't see them figuring out both, and maybe going into spring training after the World Baseball Classic, going to spring training with one of those two things still being a heavy question mark, whether it's the bullpen or starting pitching, and then they figure it out with who they have on their roster, and then maybe look at trade deadline type moves if it's still a question mark. I mean, you're looking at the Mets a starting rotation right now: Peterson, Clay Holmes, Nolan McLean, Jonah Tong, Shamanaya, Brandon Sproat. That's what it looks like right now. Kodai Senga, the Mets are apparently looking to deal him. His name's been floated out there a bunch. I think I'd like to see Senga stay. I feel like Senga is due for a really good season. He's been injured the last couple seasons. Kind of lost himself last year. I just, beginning of the season started off really well. But after that injury at first base where he pulled his hamstring or whatever it was, it just went downhill. Really, really, really bad downhill. And it seems like he might, he's kind of getting his head clear. He's the best he's felt physically since 2023. He's due to come back from Japan here in December, late December, to start pitching again. And it's just, I really feel like this could be a huge bounce back season for Kodai Senga for the Mets. We saw what Kodai Senga could be. What was that? What season was that? Was that 20? I think it was that 2023. We saw what Kodai Senga could be. He was outstanding that season. Then 2024 hurt. He made one start, I guess it was, right? And then he made that start in the playoffs. Uh, right? Yeah. And then 2025, again, injury. Started off well, injury, finished terrible. But I still think that there's a lot for Kodai Senga to give. I still feel like that there's that potential there. We've seen it, and the Mets need to figure him out. I really feel like that could be the key to the Mets rotation. I've seen David Peterson's name being floated out there now as trade bait. I don't know what that's all about. We got a comment here from Tatsui Amar. I can't say it. From Tatsui. I'm just going to go with that. Tatsui. I can't even do it. There's all different letters in there, and I can't put them all together. I'm going to call you Tatsui 17. I'm going to try again. Tatsui Almal. Tatsui Almal 17. That's what it looks like to me anyway on the screen. I even have my glasses on. I still can't read that. It's so small on my screen. I need to get a bigger computer. That's what it is. I'm on a little tiny laptop because I don't get paid to do this. So, but anyway, stubborn Stearns is too cutthroat. The Mets need to start winning for the fans to back Stearns. Absolutely, 100% agree with that, Tatsui. 100%, 1000% agree with that. I'm so sick of hearing about the boy genius, David Stearns, and so far. He's brought a whole lot of nothing to the Mets. So, yeah, we did make it to the NLCS last year, but I feel like that's just a lightning in the bottle thing. And what did they do? They broke that team up. So, I mean, right? Why not run that back? I still don't understand that. But anyway, I'm so sick of hearing about the boy genius here, David Stearns, and what he did in Milwaukee. What exactly did he do in Milwaukee? I mean, I failed to see all the World Series appearances that they made while he was in Milwaukee. I failed to see all the banners that they hung, World Series banners that they hung in Milwaukee. Well, he was able to put a competitive team out there, with little money. And okay, I mean, it's like, the NL Central usually isn't all that, great anyway. The Pirates usually aren't all that great. The Reds, usually aren't all that great. The Cubbies are up and down. And the Cardinals, they've been down the last couple seasons. I mean, so like, what? I don't understand. I don't understand it. I don't understand it. It's just, I don't know. I'm not, again, I'm not some genius here. I'm a baseball fan. I'm a Mets fan. I'm a Mets fan. I'm just, I know what my eyes tell me, and I don't buy into the Stearns hype. I just being stingy. I don't know. I understand what he's trying to build. Just going for short-term deals. They don't want to do any long-term deals. So they don't want to get stuck with a bad contract. I kind of understand that, but you're not in Milwaukee. You have the leverage to extend that stuff out. It's and as far as we know, Cohen's would allow that. And I get it. The whole luxury tax, there's a whole lot of money he's losing, but with the approval of the casino type stuff, the dude's gonna be making a lot of money anyway. So I say luxury tax be damned, but I don't know. Tatsui says New York Brewers first Devin Williams now talks to acquire Trevor McGill. I do like Trevor McGill. I really do like Trevor McGill. I am kind of hoping the Mets do pick him up. I think that would significantly help the bullpen. Again, I'm also a Tyler McGill fan, but I think Trevor McGill is much better than Tyler McGill. So maybe Trevor getting there, maybe show his brother there, Trevor, give him a couple pointers, help him out a little bit. But it only hasn't been those two guys. There's been multiple Brewers since Stearns has taken over that he's brought with, or he sent Mets, to the Brewers or what have you. There's been multiple deals throughout there, and even front office people and Even from the, I guess, the Astros as well. He had his time in the Astros. Bringing some people from there. So and again, what they have nothing to show for his time there. A couple NL Central, titles maybe. Which is nice. That's great. But we're talking. We want World Series. I will take an NL East title. Divisional title. I'll take that. But then I want to see the next step. I want to see the next step after that. When he's in Milwaukee, there was never a next step. At least not that I can recall. I know they didn't win a World Series. I'm pretty sure they didn't make it to the World Series, when he was there. So that's just my thought on it. I don't buy into the boy genius, and I know a lot of guys do, and that's fine. I'm not a deeply analytical type guy, and I know Stearns, I think, is big into analytics and stuff like that, and that's fine. That's where today's game is going, and a lot of front offices look at stuff like that: F wars, B wars, war. What is it good for? Absolutely nothing. So I don't know. The closest to analytics I get is OPS. That's it. And if you've ever seen the show before, I've said that 10,000 times. I say I'm not an analytical guy. The closest to analytics I get is OPS. As much as I say a lot, and I say that phrase a lot as well. So Tatsui says, "Did you know King Cohen bought a $10 million golden toilet recently?" I did not. Is that a real thing? Are you being serious, or is that a joke? Who makes a $10 million golden toilet? I mean, it's his money. If he wants to buy a $10 million golden toilet, that's fine. Hopefully, they buy Pete Alonso. That's what I want. It's real, no joke. Are there pictures online, Tatsui? Because I want to see this golden turlet. That's what I want to see. That's how the country folks say. They say turlet. So, so again, there's been a ton of trade rumors. The Mets, go out and get this, go out and get this guy, Tariq Skubal. That'd be a huge catch if the Tigers do decide to part ways with Tariq Skubal, and the Mets are able to fetch him. I don't know what it would cost. It would cost a lot. You're probably looking at a clearing out of your farm system. You're looking at guys like Jet Williams, Jonah Tong, Sprout, uh, Jacob Reimer. I think Nolan McLean. I think he's pretty well solidified. Not being dangled out there. But you're looking at Ronnie Mauricio, Luis Angel Acuna, Mark Vientos, Brett Beatty, all those guys. To get a Skubal, you're going to have to give up a lot. And I'm not saying you're giving up all those guys. I'm just saying those are guys' names that might be floated out there for somebody like that. So we'll have to, keep our ears pinned to the ground to see what happens with that. But I don't expect the Tigers to part ways with Tariq Skubal, at least not right now. Maybe that could be something all-star or trade deadline-ish. Maybe, I don't know. But again, as mentioned by Tatsui about Trevor McGill, Tyler McGill's brother, that pitches for Milwaukee. His name's been floated out there. Michael King, his name's been floated out there as well. Starting pitcher, San Diego. Marlins looking to deal Edwin Cabrera. That's another name that's out there. So they look at some free agents: Kyle Tucker, Cody Bellinger, Harrison Bader. I know with the Mets trading Brandon Nimmo for Marcus Semien, which again, that doesn't make any sense to me either. You get stronger defensively at second base, but I didn't know that defensively at second base was. So now you get weaker in the outfield. Not saying Brandon Nimmo was a great outfielder. He was a good outfielder. He was serviceable. Now you have, Jeff McNeil out there, our second baseman. I don't know. Doesn't make sense. And so my biggest thought on this, and I'm gonna head out of here. I'm kind of jumbling my words together. That means I'm getting tired. I don't know if you know that. I do work night shift, and once I start jumbling words together like I was trying to say Tariq Skubal. I'm really struggling with saying that. If I have to stop and think about it, but anyway, I start jumbling my words together and I sound like an idiot. Not that I don't normally, but anyway, with Nimmo being traded, I mentioned earlier in the show that a lot of talk has come out recently about the Mets clubhouse. With guys not getting along, some animosity, this, that, and the other. Whether it's centered around Soto, centered around Lindor, uh, McNeil, all that stuff. But coming into this offseason, the Mets said that they're not running that team back out there. They're not running it back with that same roster. So you knew some guys were, it was, some things were going to change. I don't think anybody really saw the Nimmo part of it. I think a lot of people expected maybe like a Jeff McNeil to be gone. We don't expect like a Starling Marte, who, again, seems to be a very well liked guy in the clubhouse, but just another guy that appears to be he will not be coming back. Who else? It was Jeff McNeil. And you keep hearing Luis Angel Acuna. You hear Vientos and stuff like that. But you knew some things were going to change, and I think a lot of people expected McNeil to be gone before Nimmo would have been gone. Nobody. At least I'd never expected Nimmo to be traded. I didn't think he was even on the trade block. I didn't even think it was possible. But it just feels like that maybe the whole clubhouse talk, whether or not it's not confirmed by anybody from the front office from the Mets or whatever, but it's leaked out there. But this is their way of kind of trying to fix that without losing somebody like Lindor or losing somebody like Soto. Changed a couple other pieces. And I don't think Nimmo was a problem in the clubhouse, but it's a different kind of cat, right? Kind of conservative, and whatnot. I don't, not going to get into his political views or whatever. That's not my position or my. I don't even want to. That's not. Don't want no parts of that political stuff. But anyway, so I'm not saying Brandon Nimmo was any kind of issue in the clubhouse. I don't think I read anything anywhere saying that he was, but that's just a way to change your culture in your clubhouse. He's been there a long time. I think he was the longest tenured Met. I could be wrong about that. On the roster. So you just start changing guys like that. Bring in new blood. And Marcus Semien, from everything that you read, he's been around a long time. Gold Glover last season. Offensively, not all that great. Numbers have been going down on the decline. But a good clubhouse guy, well respected. So that could be something to look at there, where you have Lindor and McNeil not getting together. That's the middle of your infield. Now you have two guys that potentially could get along together. And it's a bummer that it comes down to that. Now McNeil's moved to the outfield, and there's his name still being floated out there as possibly being traded. And I would not be at all surprised if McNeil is traded. And I like Jeff McNeil. I do like Jeff McNeil. I think he's a kooky kind of fella. There's a reason why he got the nickname Squirrel. I think he's a squirrely lad. So I'd like to see McNeil back. So again, I feel like that there's still something there for him to give. Better than what he gave last year before, since his batting title. I don't think he'll ever get to that level again of the batting title, but I feel like there's more there. I don't think Jeff McNeil is a 250, 260 hitter. I think he could be well into the 280s and beyond. So, but I have to wonder with this clubhouse issue, if this is part of the reason why Diaz left. Just didn't like the mesh of the clubhouse, and the Mets didn't really go after him all that hard either. To kind of like break up the clubhouse a little bit more, kind of more new blood in there. Devin Williams replacing Edwin Diaz. So I think this is the Mets way, the front office way of kind of clearing out the clubhouse that possibly had some issues and bringing in some possibly new blood that's a little bit more respected, potentially around the league. I don't know. I'm just kind of rambling now. I'm not really sure. The thought in my head made sense. As I say it, it doesn't make any sense. But I think we'll see what kind of we'll see the writing on the wall if Pete Alonso doesn't return. I think if Pete Alonso doesn't return, I feel like it has a lot to do with the clubhouse because there's no reason that anybody should be able to outbid the Mets. So if you're leaving, like Nimmo had to want to leave. He had a no trade clause, right? I don't remember if it was a full or if it was a partial no trade clause, but yeah, he had to waive that no trade clause for him to go to Texas. So he chose to waive that no trade clause. So he wanted to leave. In my opinion, that's what it is. He could have said no. He said, no, I want to stay a Met. I want to retire a Met. That was the plan when he signed that 8-year deal. But he waived his no trade clause. Edwin Diaz could have brought that deal that the Dodgers offered him back to the Mets and said, this is what they're offering me. What do you got? But he wanted to leave New York. So I think if Pete Alonso signed somewhere else, I feel like that has a lot to do with it. I feel like the clubhouse has a lot to do with it, and we're hearing reports that some of it's not true, that some of it is true. I feel like it's all true. Where there's smoke, there's fire. These guys were dysfunctional, so we're just gonna have to wait and see. We're gonna have to wait and see what happens here, and hopefully next time I come on, positive. We're talking about Pete Alonso signing, the Mets upgrading their starting pitching, upgrading their bullpen. But I'm not holding my breath. We'll see what the boy wonder here, the boy genius, David Stearns, what he has in store for us coming up here with the rest of free agency and trade wise. So, all right, so that's all I have for today. I'm kind of running out of steam here. So before I head out, be sure to check us out. Out of the Box Sports on YouTube at OOT Box Sports, and on the Facebook, Out of the Box Sports Entertainment. Give us a like and a follow. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Once again, at OOT Box Sports. Hit the notification bell. My YouTube channel, the Bat Fry Pods. If you want to subscribe to that, that's fine. But subscribe to that Out of the Box Sports YouTube channel. We're getting pretty close to 400 subscribers, which doesn't sound like a lot, but it's huge for us. We're just just a couple guys doing this, having fun with it. So we hit that 400, that'd be awesome. If you want to help me out, you want to go ahead and check out W Energy Drink. There it is. W Energy Drink at www.w.gg. Use the promo code The Bat Cave for 10% off your order. That's all one word, The Bat Cave, for 10% off your order. Check them out. It's a good product. Jitterless energy drink, this, that, the other. I put it out there all the time. But you have to check it out for yourself. If you do, let me know your thoughts and opinions on it. I dig it. I like it. So that's that. All right, I got a couple more comments before I get out of here. Tatsui says, thanks for the therapy. Oh my goodness. Tatsui, thank you for checking in. It's going to be a long road here until the season starts, and hopefully it's not a rocky one. Hopefully it's a smooth sailing from here on out. Get the polar bear in and make some other moves here, some moves that make sense, and we'll see what we got going on here come spring training and World Baseball Classic. I'm terrified of the World Baseball Classic right now. So I just said everything that happened last time that they had the World Baseball Classic, where Alonso came back different. McNeil came back different. Those guys couldn't do anything. You had Diaz blowing his knee out, and it just was a really, really bad year. That was 2023. That was just really, really bad. So, yuck for the World Baseball Classic. Eileen checking in. Eileen, hump day. Yes, it is. What? Hump day. Thanks for checking out the show, Eileen. Tatsui, Nightmare Continues. Yes. As Eileen, she says, I'm late to the party. You are late to the party. I'm heading out. But who knows? My party is all different times. I don't know. Maybe I'll bump it back to 10, but I have a hard time staying awake anymore. So I don't know. I think I'm going to stick to the 9 a.m. and just kind of hammer through it. Eileen says, can you stop stealing Yankee players? Thanks, but we will take the polar bear. Oh, Lord. You can have Devin Williams back, and we want the polar bear. I mean, I'm hoping Devin Williams does great things. Do you consider Devin Williams a Yankee? I mean, are people like they did with Juan Soto, are people out there burning Devin Williams jerseys? I don't know. He was there one season. It wasn't a great season. It was up and down for him with the Yankees. So I don't know if I kind of claim him as a Yankee. Tatsui says, Edwin, stick the trumpets up your nose. What a rubber hose. That's what I say, Tatsui. Absolutely. And that's another thing that I'm going to kind of miss is I did like the trumpets. I even had have it on my Spotify listening, profile. I don't know what the hell you call it. My playlist. That's the word I'm looking for. So that's where I'm at mentally right now. My playlist. I even had the old Tommy Trumpet Narcos theme there, but I didn't really like listening to it that much. I like the beginning with the trumpets and stuff like that. The first like half of the song, but then the rest of it, I'm like, the guys yelling underoos and stuff like that. I'm like, I don't get it. I don't. But I did like the trumpets, so I'm torn. But the one thing I will say, and again, if you're watching the show now, later, or whatever, and you've seen the Batcave before, you've heard me complain. I can't stand when Mr. and Mrs. Met go out there and fake play the trumpets. It drives me absolutely insane. I hate that part of it. I'm glad I'm not going to have to see that again. I am very excited for that. We're out there, stuff. It drives me nuts. It drives me nuts. I hate it so much when they were doing that. And I don't know why. I think Mrs. Met's a stone cold fox, and Mr. Met's kind of goofy looking. So why the trumpet thing bothered me so much, I don't know. I can't place my finger on it, but I'm glad I don't have to see it again. But I am kind of bummed that I won't hear the trumpets. But I also can say I do like at Dodgers that the home games they play the organ a lot. So I do like the organ at Dodger Stadium, but I want to hear the song, the trumpet song, Narcos on the organ now. So I did see somebody do it on their little keyboard, Dodgers keyboard on the TikTok or whatever it was, or Reels or something. But I want to hear it, during the game. So I do want to hear that. But I'm just glad I don't have to see Mr. and Mrs. Met with the stupid ass little trumpets, fake playing them. Oh man, they used to irritate the hell out of me. I need therapy. I don't know. I don't know what that is, but it can't be healthy. So, all right, I'm out of here. Thank you for checking out the show. I apologize for the rambling. I'll try to be back on more often, but I'm not going to guarantee it. It's just, especially when the season gets closer and we're in season mode, I'll be on every week. But right now, don't count on me every week, but just hit that notification bell. You'll know when I'm on. Follow us on Out of the Box Sports Entertainment at Facebook, OOT Box Sports there on YouTube, and you'll know when I'm going to be on. All right. Thank you, everybody. And let's go, Mets.
Game strong, let's break the mold. Chasing the stories yet untold. Passion ignites like a blazing fire. Knowledge takes us higher, higher. Out of the box where the wild ones play. We see the game in a whole new way. Living loud, hearts in motion. Sports with soul, pure devotion. The field's alive with endless dreams. We're more than stats, we're the in-between. A slam dunk.